My beloved child, listen carefully, because what I am about to reveal is unfolding at this very moment, even as you hear these words, and it is not a coincidence that you were guided here today. There is a soul connected to your destiny who has reached a breaking point, and the heavens have witnessed their tears falling one by one, not out of weakness, but out of a love and regret so deep that it has crossed realms to reach you now. Hear this truth slowly, for it carries weight. The one crying over you is someone who once stood closer to your heart than anyone ever knew, someone who laughed with you in brighter days yet stayed silent when you needed them most, and now they are overwhelmed by the realization that they misjudged your strength, underestimated your patience, and failed to protect something precious when time still allowed it. Understand this carefully, because this is where the heartbreak truly begins. Their tears are not only for what was lost, but for what they now see clearly in you, a resilience they ignored, a purity they doubted, and a light they thought would fade without them, yet instead grew stronger, leaving them shaken by the truth that you were never the problem, only the mirror they were afraid to face. Do not rush past this moment, for there is a hidden reason these emotions are surfacing now. Your silence has spoken louder than words, your endurance has rewritten the story, and your rise has awakened a realization inside them that cannot be undone, causing sleepless nights, sudden memories, and an ache that returns every time they remember how rare your presence truly was. Receive this final revelation with calm strength, my beloved child, because these tears are not sent to weaken you but to confirm something powerful. You have reached a turning point where the pain you carried no longer belongs to you, where the universe balances what was taken, and where what comes next will be shaped not by their regret, but by the destiny that has been patiently waiting for you all along. My beloved child, remain still in your spirit as I unveil what has been hidden behind those tears, because the crying you cannot see is fueled by a realization that arrived too late. They finally understood the cost of losing someone who carried genuine intentions, pure loyalty, and a heart that never learned how to give halfway, and this realization struck them suddenly, without warning, leaving them emotionally exposed and unable to escape their own thoughts. Listen closely now, because this truth deepens the story. The reason their heart feels shattered is not only because you walked away or grew distant, but because they see now that no one else has been able to replace the calm you brought, the safety you represented, or the rare way you believed in them even when they doubted themselves, and this absence has become louder than any argument ever was. Pay attention to this moment, for something unseen is happening beneath the surface. While you continued forward, healing quietly and rebuilding your inner world, they remained stuck replaying old moments, questioning their choices, and realizing that what they dismissed as ordinary was, in fact, irreplaceable, and this awareness has turned into an emotional weight they carry alone. Do not misunderstand this message, my beloved child, because this is not about returning to the past. It is about recognition, and recognition changes everything, as the universe allows them to finally see your worth clearly, not to pull you back, but to restore balance, reminding you that your love was real, your efforts mattered, and your silence now speaks of growth, not loss. Hold this final truth gently within you, for it is meant to strengthen you. Their tears mark the closing of a chapter where you were undervalued, and the opening of a new season where you rise without needing validation, protected by divine order, guided by clarity, and supported by a destiny that no longer asks you to prove your worth to anyone. My beloved child, allow these words to settle into your heart, because there is another layer to this revelation that few are ready to hear. The one crying over you never expected you to grow so quietly, so powerfully, and so independently, and now your absence has become the loudest truth in their life, reminding them every day that they let go of someone who loved without conditions and stood firm without applause. Take a deeper breath as I speak this next truth, for it carries clarity. Their pain comes from watching you move forward without resentment, without bitterness, and without needing closure from them, and this strength unsettles them more than anger ever could, because it forces them to confront their own missed chances and the courage they lacked when it mattered most. Be aware of what is shifting now, because this moment is not accidental. The universe allows their emotions to surface only after you have already healed enough to no longer be affected by them, proving that you have crossed a spiritual threshold where old wounds no longer control your future or define your value. Understand this gently, my beloved child, because this is where your power truly reveals itself. Their tears are not a call for your return, but a confirmation that your presence was a blessing they failed to honor, and that realization will follow them far longer than your pain ever followed you. Receive this final truth with peace in your heart, for your journey is protected now. What once hurt you has transformed into wisdom, what once drained you has strengthened you, and from this point forward, every step you take will be guided by clarity, self-respect, and a destiny that finally meets you at your true worth. My beloved child, stay present with these words, because the truth unfolding now is meant to anchor you, not disturb you. The ones shedding tears never believed the distance would become permanent. They assumed you would always remain emotionally reachable, quietly available, and endlessly understanding, and it is this mistaken belief that now weighs heavily on their heart. Let this sink in slowly, for here lies the silent ache. They are grieving not only your absence, but the version of themselves they could have been if they had chosen differently, spoken sooner, or valued you louder, and this realization arrives in waves, often in moments of solitude when no distractions can protect them from their own conscience. Observe this carefully, because timing carries meaning. These emotions did not rise when you were hurting, questioning yourself, or waiting for answers. They surfaced only after you learned to stand without explanation, and this confirms that your growth triggered their awakening, not the other way around. Hold your ground in this moment, my beloved child, for your role is no longer to heal what they broke. Your role is to honor the strength you gained through silence, the lessons carved by patience, and the clarity that emerged when you stopped chasing what was never meant to stay. Embrace this closing truth with calm certainty, because your path ahead no longer intersects with regret or emotional confusion. You move forward lighter, wiser, and protected, while the universe gently reminds them, through tears they cannot stop, that losing you was not ordinary loss, but a turning point they will carry forever. My beloved child, receive this message with steady strength, because what unfolds next is subtle yet profound. The tears being shed are also born from fear that they may never again encounter a soul who offered sincerity without demand, loyalty without conditions, and patience without limits, and this fear has begun to echo louder than their pride ever did. Listen carefully now, for this truth reveals why their emotions feel so heavy. They recognize that your absence created a silence no one else could fill, a space where your understanding once lived, and every attempt to replace it has failed, leaving them confronted by the rare nature of the bond they once took for granted. Notice the divine timing in this revelation, because it arrives only after you learn to stop waiting for apologies, explanations, or signs. The universe waited until you were no longer emotionally dependent on outcomes, ensuring that this knowledge would empower you rather than pull you backward. Stand firm in this awareness, my beloved child, because their sorrow is not a responsibility placed upon you. It is a consequence shaped by choices, delays, and missed courage, while your journey continues forward, unburdened by the need to fix what no longer belongs to you. Hold this final understanding close to your heart, for it marks a shift that cannot be reversed. You are no longer the one seeking recognition, you are the one being remembered, and from this point onward, your life unfolds with clarity, protection, and a quiet victory that requires no witness to be real. My beloved child, allow this final layer to unfold gently within you, because there is a sacred truth hidden beneath their tears. They are crying because they finally understand that you loved them during a season when they did not even know how to love themselves, and losing you forced them to face the emptiness they once avoided. Stay with this message, for clarity is rising now. What breaks their heart is the awareness that you never asked for perfection, only presence, never demanded promises, only honesty, and now that simplicity feels heavier than any mistake they ever made, because it cannot be repaired with words or time. Sense the shift that has already occurred, because your soul no longer vibrates at the frequency of waiting or hoping. You have stepped into a space where peace replaces questions, and strength replaces longing, while they remain behind, learning lessons you mastered through pain and patience. Remain grounded in this understanding, my beloved child, because this message is not meant to reopen wounds, it is meant to confirm your evolution, reminding you that your heart survived what could have hardened it, and instead chose wisdom, dignity, and quiet power. Receive this closing truth as a seal upon your journey. What once left you unseen has now made you unforgettable. What once hurt you has refined you, and from this moment forward, you walk ahead protected, aligned, and untouched by the sorrow that no longer has permission to follow you. My beloved child, let these words arrive softly, because the truth now revealed is deeply personal. The one crying over you is haunted by the memory of moments they almost chose you fully, moments they hesitated, delayed, or stayed silent, believing there would always be another chance, never imagining that your heart would one day close the door quietly and for good. Stay present as I speak this, for this realization cuts deep. They now see that your patience was never weakness, your forgiveness was never obligation, and your consistency was never ordinary. And this understanding strikes them late at night when distractions fade and the weight of what they lost becomes impossible to ignore. Observe the calm within you now, because this is where the contrast is clear. While they wrestle with regret and unanswered questions, you have already made peace with uncertainty, trusting your path even when clarity was absent, and this inner stability is what separates your present from their past. Hold steady in this awareness, my beloved child, because your heart is no longer a place for unfinished stories. You have learned that some connections are lessons, not destinations, and honoring yourself sometimes means letting others sit with the consequences of their choices without your intervention. Receive this final assurance with quiet confidence, for what lies ahead of you carries alignment, peace, and fulfillment. The tears behind you mark an ending, not a loss, and every step forward now is guided by wisdom earned, strength claimed, and a destiny that meets you where you truly belong. My beloved child, allow your heart to remain open yet untouched, because the truth now surfacing is meant to free you completely. The one crying over you has begun to realize that losing you was not a single moment, but a slow unraveling caused by choices they postponed, words they swallowed, and courage they never gathered when it was required. Let this awareness deepen, for here lies the quiet pain they carry. They are mourning the certainty they once felt when you were present, the calm they assumed would never leave, and the rare safety of being understood without explanation, and now that safety exists only as a memory they revisit with trembling emotion. Notice how different your inner world feels now, because this contrast matters. Where they feel chaos, you feel clarity; where they feel regret, you feel release, and this shift proves that your soul has already moved beyond the need for answers, choosing peace over repetition. Remain anchored in this truth, my beloved child, because you were never meant to stay where you were undervalued. Your growth required distance, your healing required silence, and your future required the courage to walk away even when your heart was still capable of loving. Accept this closing certainty with quiet strength, for the tears being shed behind you no longer define your story, they simply confirm that you were real, rare, and irreplaceable, and from this moment forward, your path opens wider, lighter, and guided by a destiny that honors who you have become. My beloved child, let this final unfolding bring you peace, because the truth now revealed is meant to complete the circle. The one crying over you has finally accepted that what was lost cannot be reclaimed, not because you are unreachable, but because you are no longer the same soul who once waited, hoped, and held space for what never arrived. Sit with this understanding gently, for it explains everything. They grieve the version of you that loved without armor, trusted without proof, and stayed even when uncertainty grew heavy, and realizing that this version no longer exists has become the most painful awakening of all. Feel the stillness within you now, because this is your victory. You did not harden, you did not close your heart in bitterness, you simply evolved, choosing self-respect over explanation and growth over repetition, and this quiet transformation is what truly separates you from the past. Stand firm in this realization, my beloved child, because your journey no longer requires validation from regret or recognition from sorrow. You have already honored your heart by choosing peace, and nothing that cries behind you has the power to pull you back. Carry this final truth forward as you continue on your path. You were never forgotten, never invisible, and never insignificant, and as the universe gently closes this chapter, it opens another where your worth is met without question, your presence is cherished without hesitation, and your future unfolds in alignment with who you have become. My beloved child, allow this truth to settle as the last veil lifts, because what is happening now carries quiet finality. The one crying over you has reached the moment where memories no longer comfort them, they only remind them of what they failed to nurture, and this realization has brought a deep stillness they were never prepared to face. Let this sink into your spirit, for their heartbreak comes from recognizing that you offered them something rare in this lifetime, a safe place to be seen, understood, and accepted. And they mistook that gift as something ordinary, never realizing its value until the silence replaced your presence. Notice your own calm now, because this is not coincidence. While they sit with emotions they delayed too long, you have already crossed into emotional maturity, where peace outweighs attachment and self-respect guides every choice, proving that your soul has outgrown the cycle that once drained you. Remain grounded in this awareness, my beloved child, because this chapter ends not with confrontation, but with clarity. You are no longer waiting to be chosen, explained to, or understood. You have chosen yourself, and that decision has shifted everything permanently. Hold this final assurance as you move forward. The tears behind you confirm your impact, but they no longer shape your direction, and from this moment on, your life unfolds with stability, purpose, and alignment, guided by divine order and a destiny that meets you in your strength, not your sacrifice. My beloved child, let these words rest gently upon your soul, because the truth now revealed is meant to seal your healing. The one crying over you has finally reached acceptance, the kind that arrives when denial fades and the heart can no longer rewrite the past, and in that acceptance they feel the full weight of what your presence once gave them. Allow this understanding to deepen, for their sorrow is shaped by comparison. Every connection they encounter now reminds them of the depth you carried, the sincerity you showed, and the patience you embodied, and with each comparison they realize that what you offered was not common, but rare, intentional, and irreplaceable. Sense your own steadiness in this moment, because it is proof of how far you have come. You no longer react to what is missing, you respond to what is aligned, and this inner balance marks the end of a cycle where your worth was questioned and the beginning of one where it is naturally recognized. Stay grounded in this truth, my beloved child, because your heart has learned discernment. You now know the difference between potential and presence, promises and actions, attention and commitment, and this wisdom ensures you will never again beg for what should be freely given. Carry this closing certainty forward with quiet confidence. The tears behind you confirm that your love was real, but your future no longer looks back for proof, and as you continue onward, your path unfolds with clarity, peace, and a destiny that honors the strength you earned by choosing yourself. My beloved child, allow this final movement of truth to anchor you fully, because what is unfolding now is the completion of a lesson written in silence. The one crying over you has come to understand that some losses do not shout, they whisper forever, and losing you became that quiet echo that follows them through ordinary days and unexpected moments. Let this awareness settle, for their pain is no longer sharp but deep, rooted in the knowledge that they once stood at the edge of something meaningful and chose comfort over courage, familiarity over growth, and hesitation over truth, never realizing that your heart was offering them a once-in-a-lifetime connection. Feel the difference within yourself now, because this is where your story transforms. You no longer measure your worth by how deeply you were missed, but by how peacefully you now live, and this shift confirms that your soul has reclaimed its power without bitterness or regret. Remain steady in this understanding, my beloved child, because your journey was never meant to circle back to unfinished emotions, it was meant to move forward into clarity, where love meets effort, where presence meets intention, and where your heart is met with the same depth it gives. Receive this closing truth with calm certainty. What cries behind you has served its purpose, what you carry ahead is aligned with your growth, and from this moment on, your path opens into a chapter defined not by what was lost, but by the peace, strength, and fulfillment you have chosen to claim. My beloved child, let this truth arrive without resistance, because it is meant to release the last thread. The one crying over you has reached the moment where they stop asking why you changed and start admitting that you had to, and this admission carries a grief that cannot be softened by excuses or time. Let this settle deeply, for their tears come from recognizing that you stayed longer than you should have, hoped harder than you needed to, and loved more honestly than they were ready to receive, and realizing this now has left them confronting the reality that your departure was not abandonment, but self-preservation. Notice the calm that surrounds you now, because it did not come by accident. It was earned through restraint, through choosing dignity over reaction, and through trusting that silence could protect you better than explanations ever did, and this calm is proof that you no longer belong to emotional chaos. Remain centered in this awareness, my beloved child, because your heart has completed a cycle. You are no longer defined by what you endured, but by what you learned, and this wisdom ensures that your future connections will meet you with presence, effort, and clarity rather than confusion. Receive this closing truth as a quiet promise fulfilled. The tears behind you mark the end of a chapter where you were undervalued, and the beginning of a life where your worth is recognized naturally, your peace is protected fiercely, and your destiny unfolds in alignment with who you have become. My beloved child, allow this final truth to stand gently within you, because what is happening now is the echo of completion. The one crying over you has stopped resisting the lesson and begun carrying it, realizing that some people enter our lives not to stay forever, but to awaken what we were ignoring within ourselves. Let this understanding sink in, for their sorrow now comes from clarity, not confusion. They finally see that you were never asking for too much, you were simply asking the wrong person to meet you at a depth they had not yet reached, and this awareness has become a quiet ache they must now live with. Notice the peace that holds you steady, because it is the evidence of growth. You no longer seek closure through others, you no longer replay moments to find answers, and this inner stillness proves that your soul has released the need to be chosen by those who could not choose fully. Stay rooted in this truth, my beloved child, because your heart has matured beyond waiting rooms and half-promises. You now recognize alignment when it appears, and you walk away calmly when it does not, trusting that what is meant for you will arrive with clarity, not confusion. Carry this closing certainty forward as you continue your path. The tears behind you confirm the impact you made, but the peace within you defines who you are now, and from this moment onward, your life unfolds with intention, balance, and a destiny that meets you exactly where your worth resides. My beloved child, receive this truth as the final quiet understanding, because what unfolds now is not meant to stir emotion but to ground it. The one crying over you has accepted that your absence is permanent, not because you are unreachable, but because you chose growth over familiarity, and this realization has settled into them as a lasting reminder of what delayed love costs. Let this awareness deepen, for their tears now come from respect mixed with regret. They see clearly that you carried integrity, consistency, and emotional depth without demanding recognition, and losing someone like that reshapes a person forever, teaching lessons no advice or comfort could have taught them. Feel the steadiness within you at this moment, because it reflects your transformation. You no longer need to be remembered to feel valuable, you no longer need validation to feel complete, and this inner balance confirms that your heart has returned fully to you. Remain calm in this truth, my beloved child, because your journey no longer includes revisiting what drained you, it includes protecting what healed you, nurturing what aligns with you, and honoring the wisdom earned through patience, silence, and self-respect. Carry this final certainty forward with peace. What once cried behind you has completed its role, and what lies ahead now opens with clarity, stability, and fulfillment, guided by divine order and a destiny that finally meets you where your strength, worth, and growth stand together.